Welcome to this episode of Toronto Blue Jays Update. Kyle Tucker is a Los Angeles Dodger, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around what just happened. $240 million over 4 years. $60 million per year. That's not a typo. Kyle Tucker just became the highest paid player in baseball by average annual value. And honestly, this changes absolutely everything. Not just for the Blue Jays, but for the entire sport. Let me break down these numbers because when I first saw them, I thought there had to be massive deferrals like the Shohei Ohtani deal. Remember, Ohtani got $700 million over 10 years, but with all the deferrals, it was calculated at around $44 million per year for luxury tax purposes. So when I saw Tucker getting $60 million, I assumed, okay, there's got to be some deferred money that brings this down. Nope, only $30 million out of the $240 is deferred, $10 million a year for the final 3 years, which means the actual value for luxury tax purposes is $57 million per year. Kyle Tucker is now making more per year than Shohei Ohtani. Let that sink in for a second. The Dodgers' payroll is now sitting at around $413 million. That's $90 million more than the second highest payroll in baseball. Their luxury tax payment alone is going to be over $200 million. Think about that. The luxury tax payment is more than what half the teams in baseball spend on their entire roster. The Miami Marlins payroll is going to be $313 million less than what the Dodgers are spending. How is that even possible in a professional sports league? How do you look at that gap and tell fans in Miami or Pittsburgh or Cincinnati that their team has a chance? The immediate reaction from fans around the league has been absolutely brutal. Mets fans are furious because reports came out that Steve Cohen was offering around $50 million per year for Tucker, and that wasn't even close. Steve Cohen literally tweeted, "We're waiting for the smoke," and then got completely blown out of the water by the Dodgers. The Blue Jays were supposedly offering a longer-term deal, trying to spread the money out over more years to make it work financially, but Tucker said no thank you. He looked at the options and said, "Why would I go anywhere else when I can chase rings, get paid the most money in baseball, and join a team where I don't have to be the face of the franchise?" That last part is actually really important for understanding why Tucker chose the Dodgers. Everything we've heard about him is that he's a low-key guy who doesn't want to be the center of attention. In Toronto or New York, he would have been the guy. The entire franchise would have been built around him, and every single move would have been scrutinized. In Los Angeles, he can melt into the background even at $57 million per year because they've got Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. He's just another superstar on a roster full of superstars, and that's apparently exactly what he wanted. But here's what I really want to talk about. This isn't just about Kyle Tucker or the Blue Jays missing out on another big name. This is about what this means for the future of baseball. I genuinely believe this signing could lead to a lockout, and I know that sounds extreme, but hear me out. The knee-jerk reaction from fans all over the country is that their team has no chance. You've got owners in small markets who are looking at this and saying, how are we supposed to compete with that? The Dodgers aren't violating any rules. There's no salary cap in baseball. They can spend whatever they want, and they're doing exactly that. The question is whether this is finally the moment that pushes enough owners over the edge to demand change. Back in 1994, there was a players' strike and a work stoppage that resulted in the loss of a World Series. It happened because there was a small market, low-revenue caucus of owners who banded together and said, we can't keep operating under this system. Baseball needed the Maguire-Souza home run chase in '98 just to recover from that. Are we headed for another moment like that? Here's the thing. It takes 23 owners to ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. That means if 8 owners get together and say, we refuse to vote for any deal that doesn't include major changes, then the entire system breaks down. 8 owners. That's the magic number. And I can name 8 owners off the top of my head who are probably looking at this Tucker signing and thinking enough is enough. Dick Monfort of the Colorado Rockies has been outspoken about needing a salary cap. Bob Castellini of the Cincinnati Reds has said repeatedly that fans need to have hope that their team can compete. Add in Miami, Pittsburgh, Oakland, Tampa Bay, and a couple others, and you've got your 8. The reason I think this could actually happen is because the financial landscape of baseball has changed dramatically. The regional sports network collapse has hurt a lot of teams. The TV money that teams were counting on isn't there anymore. That was always the big issue before. Owners didn't want to give up their local broadcast revenue because it was such a huge moneymaker. But now that revenue stream has dried up for a lot of teams. If you're an owner whose TV deal just fell apart, do you really care about missing a season if it means you can negotiate a better structure for the long term? Major League Baseball has signed short-term national media deals that expire before 2029. Regional sports networks are cutting short-term deals with teams. If teams miss a year because of a work stoppage, they might actually be in a better position when they head into new media deals in a few years. That's the calculation that owners are making right now. The other side of the equation is debt. There are a lot more new owners in baseball now than there were 10 or 15 years ago, and they paid way more for their teams. They've got massive amounts of debt that needs to be serviced, and the way they service that debt is through operations. Every year they take in money from tickets and TV deals and concessions, and that money goes toward paying off interest and principal on their loans. What happens when you don't have cash flow to pay that debt? The banks don't care if there's a lockout. They want their money. So the question becomes, how long can teams go without revenue before it becomes a real problem? That's where the leverage comes from in these negotiations. The union knows that owners with a lot of debt can't afford to miss too many games. The commissioner knows it too. But if enough owners decide that they're willing to take the short-term pain for long-term gain, then all bets are off. Does the Kyle Tucker deal guarantee there's a work stoppage? No. Does it mean baseball is doomed? No. But was it inevitable that Tucker would get $240 from the Dodgers? Absolutely. And the ripple effects of this signing are going to be felt everywhere. Scott Boras is probably on the phone right now with Cody Bellinger saying if Tucker is getting $57 million per year, then you should be getting way more than $37. Players are going to reset their expectations based on this deal. Owners are going to push back. It's going to get messy. For the Blue Jays specifically, this is devastating. We spent the entire offseason chasing Kyle Tucker. Every report said Toronto was a serious contender. Ross Atkins was all in, and now he's gone. The question is, what happens next? Do we pivot back to Bo Bichette after basically telling him all winter that he was plan B? Do we go after Cody Bellinger or Anthony Santander? Or do we just roll with the roster we have and hope it's good enough? The honest answer is, I don't know. Ross Atkins said recently that he feels good about the team as constructed, and maybe he was being genuine. Our rotation is elite with Dylan Cease, Jose Barrios Bowden, Francis and Chris Bassett. The bullpen got better. We signed Kazuma Okamoto to add power to the lineup. On paper, this is a playoff team, but it stings when you spend months hearing that Toronto is the favorite and then the Dodgers just swoop in and blow everyone out of the water. What really bothers me is that this is 3 straight off seasons where we've lost our top target to the same team, Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, and now Kyle Tucker, all to the Dodgers. They're building a dynasty, and the rest of us are just sitting here watching it happen. I'm not even a Dodgers hater. I respect what they're doing from a business perspective. They're maximizing their advantages and playing within the rules. But it's hard not to feel like the system is broken when one team can spend $400 million while another team is capped at $80. The reality is that something has to give. Either baseball figures out a way to create more competitive balance, or we're headed for a work stoppage. I don't say that lightly. Nobody wants to see baseball shut down. But when you have this kind of disparity, it becomes unsustainable. Fans in small markets are going to stop caring. Players are going to demand more money because they see what the top guys are getting. Owners are going to dig in their heels. It's a recipe for disaster. So what do we do as Blue Jays fans? We wait. We hope Ross Atkins has a plan B. We hope that losing out on Tucker doesn't mean the end of our offseason. And we watch what happens across the league because this Tucker signing is going to have consequences that go way beyond just one player switching teams. This could be the moment that changes baseball forever, and we're all going to be here to witness it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Cheers.